Wheatsheafers is a comedy animation set in the late colonial period in the province of New Jersey, at that time part of the British Empire. Episodes and stories are combined with elements of truth and outlandish, crazy situations. Are the Wheatsheafers characters based in reality? Well, some. Loosely. Do all the events and history line up exactly? No, it's a story. But let's go over what's true and what's not. Blood history's truth behind the Wheatsheafers. Abraham Clark, a member of the Second Continental Congress representing the Elizabethtown area, was a staunch constitutionalist later in his career. He was known as a barrister of the poor, even though he did not have a law degree. Extremely smart man, and his farm was adjacent to the small hamlet of Wheatsheaf. Now here's where we took some liberty with the actual history, loosely tying it on about 2 decades later from the time of the show, but we threw it in there. Sarah Hatfield Clark, Abe's wife, is related by blood to the most infamous man in the American Revolution, who is a character that will be added to next season's Wheatsheafers. The pair were historically known to be very much in love, and she reared 7 children. In the Wheatsheafers, she's very much in charge of the hamlet's social circle, dispensing wisdom to the women of Wheatsheaf. On the left is the Wheatsheaf Tavern. I don't know if it was read at the time, but it looks good for the show. Also, the first school, public school in the Elizabethtown area, was across the street in what is now Linden. And that would have made Elizabeth the 6th oldest public school system in the United States. John Astor, whose real name is Jan Azer, is hired by Abraham Clark to build the infamous bridge that Abraham Clark would eventually die overseeing the construction of. But in the show, we take liberties and move the construction up earlier, leaving it open for him to die on the overseeing of the repair of the same bridge. Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr and Francis Barber, all huge colonial and early republic figures, were schooled in the city of Elizabeth. All these characters will be making appearances in the Wheatsheafers as we move on to the revolutionary times.
Taco truck, hire a legit Mexican from Mexico, and sell this shit for looking $1 everything, right outside Taco Bell in the parking lot.
Not that this probably needs to be said, but there were no giant owls that fly people around.
I would do that.
Oh, nice. Here's a look at some historical buildings in Elizabeth today. That's a Frisboar. They are a mythical creature that was created for this show based on a jackalope mixed with a kangaroo. And all the Frisboars hate the character of Richard Skull, who is known as Frisboar Hunter. The creepy teacher that likes to watch the boys chop wood was not really a pedophile, but he did exist. As a punishment for misbehaving in class, boys would have to go outside and chop wood for the furnace that was located in the middle of the school building. So we turned it into a funny little bit about a guy who liked to watch boys chop wood. Benjamin Franklin stops by the Wheatsheafers. We take a lot of license with his character in it. But the cave scene with the secret society club that you see Ben in, Black Ben, the slave owner, Dickhead, and Squatto, is loosely based on the Hellfire Club in England, who Benjamin Franklin was a member. Not that this probably needs to be said, but there were no giant owls that fly people around. Wheatsheafers like to dance. The town of Westwood in the show is actually the town of Westfield. The citizens of Westfield reported the most damages in all of the Essex County area during the war. New Jersey as a whole had most of the damage from the conflict. So when his cousin invites the crew to Westwood in episode 2, the church depicted in the Wheatsheafers is the actual church in Westfield that was rebuilt. There's the Elizabeth River, where there's a walk adjacent that takes you by some of the still existing colonial era structures in Midtown Elizabeth.
What's that Bay doing in the Wheat Chief Tavern? Looking at something.
He's a character from the past, but maybe he's also a character for the future in the Wheatsheafers.
Oh, there's a shitbox time machine. And there's Flan. Also not from this time, completely confused. I wonder who's operating that machine. Who's the doctor? The witch doctor? It's Squatto, Lenny Lenape, who is regarded by Ben Franklin as the most powerful native in these colonies in episode 4. Looks like Squatto's taking all those guys back to their time and place. You're looking at Chestnut Street, which is also Roselle Street in Linden. Squatto, the name, is loosely based on Squanto as a joke,
because Squatto refuses to speak to any of the settlers, choosing rather to just grunt at them, and is always seen taking shit out of people's hands. He's our favorite. Wheatsheaf was a hamlet, part of Elizabethtown. The Elizabethtown tract covered were 3 counties of modern New Jersey. Abraham Clark represented the area at the Second Continental Congress. His sons were captured, and the British tried to use them as leverage to get him to recant. He would not. Not that this probably needs to be said, but
there were no giant owls that fly people around.
Mary Alston Marsh is a historical figure from the time of the Revolution. She is not in the show. However, Truth About Colonial Linden used this picture to represent her in a historical video, and now this representation has become the NPG for all the village women that are not part of the main story. The actual historic Mary Alston Marsh, whom we were not able to find a painting or drawing of, did do some miraculous things. Her heifer was stolen by a raiding party from Staten Island of Loyalist and British troops. She somehow scooped all the bovine, denying the British raiders all their forage and plunder. Those men limped home, many badly wounded, with nothing to eat. Mary's definitely a Wheatsheafer, tiger style.
The First Presbyterian Church was burned down by the most infamous man of the American Revolution, Cornelius Hatfield Jr.
2 other notorious Brits during the Revolution, Major Tarleton and Captain John Graves Simcoe, both regarded Hatfield as beyond heinous. His father was actually an alderman at the church, and he threw the first torch to burn it down in 1780. The action was recreated, although in South Carolina, for the movie The Patriot.
Rahway native Frank Thorne is a comic book artist and writer who has had a long and storied career. Born in Union County June 16th, 1930, this wizard of fantasy began his career penciling several romance stories for Standard Comics at only 18 years old. Thorne worked on a multitude of comics after graduation through the 50s and the 60s. Included among his projects, he drew the Perry Mason newspaper strip for King Features and turned out stories for Dell Comics. At Dell, Flash Gordon, Jungle Jim, Tomahawk, Mighty Samson, Enemy Ace, and The Green Hornet were all comics he drew or penned for. Thorne was honored with the National Cartoonist Award in 1963. Later, Frank released his graphic novel adaptation of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and in 1970 wrote and drew Our Subject, the illustrated history of Union County for the Elizabeth Daily Journal. That long-running paper met its end in the late 90s. By all accounts, his work was rather thorough, with over 100 pages dedicated to maintaining the history of the oldest English settlement of New Jersey. It has been 50 years since its release, and the Truth About Colonial Linden team has added minor updates after its pages. This as new information has come to light or in cases of our altered interpretations. That said, a scant few of these are any more than additional historic info we wish to include. A fine work by this Jersey legend. Frank Thorne's comic book breakthrough was in 1975 when he was asked to draw Red Sonja for Marvel Comics. The goddess eroticism of this project would set his path for 4 decades afterwards. Red Sonja led him to create the highly erotic woman warrior Gita of Alizar in 1978. Also in that year, Thorne won the San Diego Inkpot Award given by Playboy for Moonshine McJugs. Warren Magazine's Best Comic for Guido Valazar and the New Jersey Art Directors Club Award. Frank's style of erotic fantasy and superb artistry led to the Iron Devil and Devil's Angels in the 90s, and has kept elevating this Rawway native. Now known as the Dirty Old Man of Comics, he yearly judges Red Sonja Lookalike contests.
Here we see scenes from Frank Thorne's comic, The Illustrated History of Union County, published in the Elizabeth Daily Journal in 1970.
Scripts that were colorized and animated by our team. Some of these scenes will end up in the Wheatsheafers, some of these scenes have ended up in other history documentaries. But the truth is, he did a great job, and we're honored to be able to use his artwork on this project.
Our two main characters, Sonia and John, were also taken from Thorne's The Illustrated History of Union County.
Gonna sing a song about the way you feel. Had you say now it's time to deal. It's okay to listen. It's even better when you hear. Woo-hoo, this ship is sailing.
So, how are you arranged? Oh well, we weren't arranged. We are a union of love, thank the Almighty. Yes, indeed, praise him, very unusual. We met in school, here in Wheatsheaf. I noticed him in class, he was such a rapscallion. Pulling Mary Margaret's hair in class. I thought he should be pulling my hair. Why is he pulling that wench's hair? Of course, our teacher punished him and made him cut wood for the stove. He was a bad boy. I see. So, John, you were always large then, I take it.
Well, I cut a lot of wood too.
Be quiet, Richard.
Not really. I actually was a skinny runt of the family.
But he was very, very wiry.
Yeah, I think the proctor's punishment built me. I kinda was his project. So we take it you finally pulled her hair?
Call me Mary Margaret. Call me Mary Margaret. Come off that hands. Pull like you mean, you fucking sad bitch.
Pull like you mean, you fucking sad bitch.
Let me in, I'm trying to fuck.
Fucking fun.
Once or twice.